The lights on most floors of the building were dark, leaving only a soft glow from the executive wing where she sat alone. The city outside the floor-to-ceiling windows pulsed with distant life, but up here, everything felt suspended in time. She rubbed her tired eyes and straightened in her chair, fingers still moving steadily across the keyboard. Spreadsheets, numbers, names, logistics that never slept. She had learned long ago that in this world, being indispensable meant never falling behind. She was known as reliable, precise, calm. No one ever asked if she was lonely. For nearly a year, she had worked as the personal assistant to Julian Hawthorne. Officially, he was a private investor and logistics magnate. Unofficially, no one asked questions about where his influence truly ended. Men feared him. Rivals avoided him. Even powerful people lowered their voices when his name was mentioned. To her, he was simply her boss. Cold, controlled, emotionally distant. A man who spoke in clipped sentences and expected results, not excuses. She had never seen him raise his voice, never seen him laugh, never seen him show weakness, and she assumed that was all there was to him, a ruthless businessman with too much power and no room for feelings. Her screen clock blinked past 9. She exhaled, saved the final document, and clicked the red icon to end the encrypted call she had just finished with him. A routine debrief. Shipment approvals. Nothing unusual. Call ended. Or so she thought. Her phone buzzed on the desk, vibrating softly against the polished wood. She smiled without realizing it when she saw the name on the screen. Her best friend. The one person she could be herself with. She answered and leaned back in her chair, kicking off her heels under the desk. "Please tell me you're still alive," her friend said, her face filling the screen. "Normal humans don't work this late." She laughed quietly. "Barely. I swear if I see another financial report tonight, I'm going to scream." "Your boss is going to kill you one day," her friend teased. "Or marry you, one of the two." She rolled her eyes. "He barely knows I exist, and honestly, I prefer it that way." They talked about nothing at first. Work complaints, bad dates, the same conversations they always had. The comfort of familiarity settled in, lowering her guard. Then her friend tilted her head, studying her through the screen. "So, did you ever hear back from that guy you went out with last week?" Her smile faded. "Yeah, he texted at 2 in the morning asking if I wanted to come over." "Of course he did." "I'm just so tired," she admitted, her voice softer now. "It's always the same. They pretend to be interested, and then it's like that's all they see." Her friend hesitated. "You know, most people wouldn't wait as long as you have." She shrugged, eyes drifting to the dark city beyond the glass. "I know, but I'm not changing." "Still," her friend asked gently, "you've really never been with anyone." "No," she said without shame. "I haven't." There was a pause, then surprise. "You're serious?" "I am," she said quietly. "I want my first time to mean something. I want it to be with someone who loves me, who chooses me, not just my body. I'm waiting for marriage. And yeah, maybe that sounds old-fashioned, but it matters to me." She swallowed, emotions rising unexpectedly. "I'm tired of feeling like that makes me strange, or broken, or a challenge someone wants to win." Her friend's expression softened. "You're not strange, you're strong." They talked a little longer about birthdays and weekend plans until the tension eased. When they finally hung up, she felt lighter. Exposed, maybe, but relieved. She gathered her things, unaware of anything beyond her own thoughts, and left the office behind. 3 floors above her, in a secured executive suite guarded by silence and steel, Julian Hawthorne stood completely still. The call had never disconnected. He had been reviewing reports when her voice filled the room, unfiltered and unguarded. At first, he hadn't understood what he was hearing. Then he stopped breathing altogether. Every word landed with quiet violence. Not because of innocence. Not because of purity. But because of choice. He had known desire his entire life. Had taken it, bought it, commanded it. Women had always been available, eager, transactional. He had never waited for anything, never been denied without force. And now, without knowing it, she had revealed something untouchable. She lived in a world he had never owned. He replayed her words in his mind, standing at the window as the city lights burned below. Something shifted deep in his chest, unfamiliar and unsettling. It wasn't lust. It was something colder, heavier, more dangerous. Fascination turned slowly into fixation. And for the first time in his life, Julian Hawthorne wanted something he could not simply take. He did not sleep that night. Sleep had always come easily to him. He closed his eyes, and the world obeyed. But now, every time he tried to rest, her voice returned. Soft, steady, certain. Not asking for permission. Not seeking approval. He sat alone in the dark office long after she had left. The city below moved as always. Cars, lights, people, noise. None of it touched him. His mind was fixed on one thing. Her choice. He had ruled through fear for years. Men bowed because they were afraid. Women smiled because they wanted access. Nothing had ever required patience. Nothing had ever required restraint. And yet she had spoken without knowing he was listening. She had revealed something untouched by power. Something that did not bend. It unsettled him. Not because she was untouched, but because she had chosen to remain so. Choice was dangerous. Choice could not be forced. He replayed her words again and again. Waiting. Merit. Respect. Meaning. These were not words spoken lightly. They were anchors. And for the first time in his life, he felt pulled toward something he could not command. At dawn, he poured a drink he did not finish. He stared at his reflection in the glass. A man feared across cities. A man whose orders decided who breathed and who vanished. And yet his hands were unsteady. By morning, he had made a decision. He would not confront her. He would not reveal the call. Not yet. Instead, he would watch. When she arrived later that day, she felt it immediately. The air was heavier. The office quieter than usual. He was already there. Earlier than ever before. He looked at her differently. Not openly. Not enough for her to accuse. But enough for her to feel seen in a way that made her spine tighten. He asked simple questions. Unnecessary questions. Clarifications he did not need. His voice calm, controlled. But closer than before. She answered professionally. Unaware that every movement was being memorized. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear. The way she focused completely on her work. The way she did not perform for attention. He had men follow everyone in his life. Rivals, lovers, enemies. But ordering a background check on her felt different. Not to expose weakness, but to confirm truth. He learned she was exactly who she claimed to be. No secrets. No double life. No hidden ambition. That made her more dangerous than any enemy. By evening, he dismissed her early. A gesture that confused her. A gesture that felt like restraint. As she walked away, he watched until the elevator doors closed. Something dark and unfamiliar tightened in his chest. This was not hunger. This was not desire. This was fixation taking root. Slow. Quiet. Irreversible. And for the first time in his life, Julian Hawthorne feared himself more than his enemies. The next morning arrived like nothing had changed. But everything had. She stepped into the building with her usual calm. Coffee in hand. Mind already organizing tasks. Deadlines. Calls. Meetings. She did not know that before dawn he had already been there. Standing in the dark. Watching the city. Replaying her voice again and again. When she reached the executive floor, the air felt different. Thicker. Quieter. As if the walls themselves were holding their breath. He was already inside his office. That alone was unusual. He never arrived before her. She knocked lightly and stepped in. "Good morning," she said with a polite smile. He looked up slowly, and for the first time, she felt something sharp move through her chest. Not fear, not attraction, awareness. His gaze did not rush past her, as it always had. It stayed, measured, intent. "Good morning," he said, his voice steady, controlled, but closer than before. She handed him the schedule, explained the day. Meetings, calls, logistics. He listened without interruption, without looking away. She felt exposed, as if her professionalism had become transparent. Throughout the morning, he found reasons to speak to her. Questions he already knew the answers to. Clarifications that were unnecessary. Each time he came closer, not invading, but near enough for her to feel his presence. She told herself she was imagining it. That stress did strange things, but the feeling followed her. From her desk, to the hallway, to the conference room. By midday, she noticed something else. 2 unfamiliar men in the lobby, watching quietly, not speaking. Security, she assumed. His world always required it. What she did not know was that the order had been given hours earlier. Protect her. Watch her. No one approaches without permission. He told himself it was caution. That enemies used leverage. That innocents made targets. But the truth was simpler. The idea of someone touching her, corrupting her, claiming something she had guarded, made something violent stir inside him. By afternoon, she confronted him lightly. "Is there something you need from me today? You have been checking in more than usual." He studied her then. Really studied her. The discipline in her posture. The steadiness in her eyes. The quiet confidence. "No," he said. "Just making sure everything is running smoothly." She nodded, unconvinced. As evening approached, he dismissed her early. A decision that surprised them both. "Go home," he said. "You have done enough today." She hesitated, then smiled. "Thank you." As she walked away, she felt his gaze on her back. Heavy, unmoving. The elevator doors closed, and only then did he exhale. This was not desire. Desire was loud, immediate, disposable. This was something else. Slow, dangerous, possessive. He did not want her body. He wanted her untouched world. Her choices. Her will. And for the first time, the most powerful man in the room was afraid. Not of enemies. Not of betrayal. But of what he was becoming. Because obsession had fully taken hold. And he did not know if he wanted to stop it. She began to feel it before she could explain it. A pressure. A presence. As if the world around her had shifted slightly off balance. It started with small things. A car that appeared behind her every morning and every night. Not close enough to be obvious. Never far enough to disappear. A man in a dark coat outside the cafe she visited on her lunch break. Always standing. Always watching the street. Never looking at his phone. At first she told herself she was imagining it. Her life had always been simple. Work-home routine. She did not belong to a dangerous world. But his world was dangerous. And she was in it now. Inside the office, his behavior continued to change. He spoke to her more. Asked her opinions. Listened in a way that felt unsettling. Not because he was kind, but because his attention carried weight. When she spoke, he watched her mouth. Her hands. The way her voice never wavered. Men in his world trembled when they spoke to him. She never did. That made her rare. That made her visible. By the end of the week, whispers followed her through the building. Quiet looks. Lowered voices. She heard her name once. Then his. She caught a fragment. The boss weakness. The words made her chest tighten. She confronted him that evening, standing in his office as the city darkened outside the windows. "I need to ask you something," she said, her voice calm but firm. He gestured for her to continue, his expression unreadable. "There are men following me, watching me, protecting me maybe. Is this because of you?" The silence stretched. He did not deny it immediately. For the first time, she saw something flicker across his face. Not anger, not threat, fear. "I ensure the safety of people, under my responsibility," he said. "I did not ask for protection," she replied. "I am not in danger." He stepped closer, close enough for her to feel the heat of him. "You do not see danger until it is too late," he said. She held her ground, her eyes never leaving his. "I do not want to live watched. I do not want my life controlled." Something shifted then. Something deep. He turned away. Hands braced against the glass. "You are not controlled," he said quietly. "You are protected." The word made her uneasy. That night after she left, he summoned his men. No one touches her. No one approaches her. No one speaks her name without permission. Not because she belonged to him, but because the thought of losing her, of seeing her harmed, unmade something violent inside him. He told himself it was strategy, that enemies exploited softness. But alone in the dark, he knew the truth. He was afraid of what she represented. A life untouched by blood. A choice not shaped by fear. And the more he tried to shield her from his world, the more deeply she was pulled into it. Across the city, she stood at her window, looking down at the street. The same car was there, engine running, waiting. For the first time in her life, she felt unsafe, not because of the men watching, but because of the man who commanded them. And far above her, Julian Hawthorne stood in the dark, realizing too late. Protection had already become possession. She did not plan the confrontation. It happened because the tension had nowhere else to go. The office was nearly empty again. Late evening lights humming softly. The city beyond the windows alive, while everything inside felt frozen. She stood in his doorway longer than necessary, waiting for him to notice, waiting for courage to settle. When he finally looked up, their eyes locked, and neither spoke at first. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, her voice steady but tight. "Doing what?" he replied, his tone calm. Too calm. "Watching me, protecting me, changing everything around me." He leaned back slowly, as if choosing restraint over instinct. "You are under my responsibility," he said. "I did not ask for this responsibility," she said. "I did not ask to be followed. I did not ask to feel like my life is no longer mine." Something flickered behind his eyes. A fracture in control. "You do not understand the world you are standing in." "Then explain it to me," she said. "Do not decide for me." Silence filled the room. Heavy. Dangerous. He stood and moved toward her. Not threatening. Not gentle. Measured. "Tell me," he said. "Why do you wait?" The question caught her off guard. "Why does it matter?" she asked. "Because it matters to you," he replied. She hesitated, then spoke with honesty that surprised even herself. "Because I choose myself. Because I do not want to be taken. Because I want love, not transaction. Because I want someone who waits with me, not someone who claims me." Her words landed like blows. He turned away, hands clenched, breathing controlled. "You live by rules you did not inherit," he said quietly. "You chose them." "Yes," she said. "And I will not give them up out of fear." He faced her again. For the first time, his voice cracked. "You have no idea how rare that is." She softened slightly, but held her ground. "Then stop this," she said. "Stop watching. Stop deciding for me." He nodded once. Sharp. Controlled. I will not force anything on you. She searched his face, looking for deception. Found only conflict. Then tell me the truth, she said. Why me? His answer came slowly. Because you stand where my world ends. The words sent a chill through her. She left not knowing whether she had won or lost. That night he stood alone, reviewing names, routes, threats, and one truth. He did not want to own her. He wanted to deserve her. That terrified him more than any enemy. Because earning her meant becoming someone else. Someone patient. Someone restrained. And he did not know if a man like him could survive that transformation. The distance between them became its own kind of torment. Not space, but awareness. They spoke less yet felt more. Every glance heavier. Every silence louder. She noticed how he stopped standing too close. How his hands remained visible. Controlled. How his voice softened when he said her name. It unsettled her more than his authority ever had. They began to talk after hours. Not planned. Not formal. Just words shared when the building slept. He asked about her childhood. About the town she grew up in. About what made her believe love could be gentle. She asked nothing about his world. Not because she did not care, but because she feared what the answers would cost her. One night she stayed later than usual. Rain streaking down the windows. Thunder rolling softly through the city. The lights flickered once, then steadied. She was still at her desk when he appeared. Not looming. Not commanding. Just there. You should not be here this late, he said. Neither should you, she replied. A pause settled between them. The air felt different. Charged. Unstable. You trust me, he asked. The question surprised her. I trust what you show me, she answered. His jaw tightened. That may not be enough. He moved away then. Creating space. Choosing it. And that choice shook her more than closeness ever could. They began walking out together sometimes. Not touching. Not speaking. Just existing side by side. Each step restrained. Each breath deliberate. She felt the pull. The danger of it. The safety too. One evening, she stopped in the parking garage. The concrete echoing their footsteps. Why do you look at me like that, she asked suddenly. He froze. Like what? Like you're holding something back. He turned slowly. Pain visible now. Unmasked. Because I am. Because wanting you is easy. Respecting you is hard. Her breath caught. I have never wanted someone without taking them, he said. Never had to wait. Never had to deny myself. Until you. The honesty shook her. She felt heat rise in her chest. Fear and desire tangled. I am afraid, she whispered. Of me, he asked. Of myself, she replied. Because when you look at me, I forget why I built my boundaries. He closed his eyes. A single breath taken like restraint was a wound. Then we stop here, he said. No more late nights. No more walking together. She stepped closer instead. And if I do not want to stop? His eyes opened. Dark. Controlled. Devastated. Then I will carry this alone, he said. Because I would rather suffer than be the reason you lose yourself. That was the moment something broke open inside her. Not trust. Not love. But realization. He was fighting himself for her. And that made him more dangerous. And more worthy. Than she was ready to admit. The truth did not come all at once. It crept in quietly. Like a shadow stretching longer each day. It began with a sound. A familiar sound. Her own voice. She froze in the hallway outside his office. A door slightly open. A screen glowing inside. At first she thought she was imagining it. Fatigue. Stress. a mind searching for patterns. Then she heard it again. Her laughter. Soft. Unfiltered. Her heart began to pound. She took one step closer. Then another. Inside the room, a monitor displayed archived call logs. Encrypted. Dated. And her voice filled the air. Talking. Confessing. Admitting things she had only ever said to one person. Her knees weakened. Waiting. Merit. Respect. Every word she had spoken that night returned to her. Stripped of safety. Laid bare. Her breath caught painfully in her chest. The call. The night she believed she was alone. It had never ended. Her hands trembled as she stepped fully into the room. Julian stood near the desk. Still. Silent. How long, she asked. Her voice barely held together. He did not turn. Did not deny. From the beginning, he said. The world tilted. You heard everything. Yes. The word landed like a wound. Anger surged. Sharp. Burning. You let me speak. You let me believe I was safe. You watched me after. Her voice rose. Cracking. You took something from me without asking. He finally turned. And what she saw in his eyes was not triumph. Not satisfaction. It was guilt. I never meant to use it against you. But you did. You changed everything. You watched me. Protected me. Controlled my life. He stepped forward. Then stopped. Choosing distance. I did not touch you. I did not force you. I did not cross a line. You crossed it the moment you stayed silent, she said. Tears burned her eyes. But she refused to let them fall. You took my choice. Silence filled the room. Heavy. Suffocating. I should have told you, he said quietly. I was wrong. Why didn't you? Because when I heard you, I realized something I had never known. She laughed bitterly. That I was untouched. That I was different. No, he said. Because you were unafraid to choose yourself. His voice dropped. And I had never met a woman who could stand in my world without bending. Her chest tightened. You became an idea. A line I could not cross. And that terrified me. She shook her head. You turned my values into a cage. I turned them into something sacred, he said. The words did not comfort her. She stepped back. I cannot stay here. Not knowing you saw me before I chose to be seen. I understand, he said. She turned to leave. He did not stop her. That was the final proof. Obsession had finally met restraint. And for the first time, the most powerful man she knew chose to lose rather than take. As she walked away, her heart shattered. And behind her, Julian Hawthorne stood alone. Realizing the truth had cost him the one thing he could never replace. She disappeared from his world. No calls. No messages. No explanations. The silence she left behind was louder than gunfire. For days he functioned on instinct alone. Meetings, orders, consequences. Men spoke. He answered. But nothing reached him. Her empty desk became a wound. Her chair untouched. Her absence heavier than her presence had ever been. At night he stood by the window. City lights blurred by exhaustion. Replaying the moment she walked away. He had built an empire on control. Yet the one thing he wanted most had left by choice. That was the punishment. On the third night a threat surfaced. A rival syndicate had noticed her disappearance. They assumed weakness. They assumed leverage. They were wrong. Julian did not ray. He did not shout. He moved quietly. Routes were changed. Names erased. Warnings delivered. 2 men vanished before sunrise. Not out of anger. Out of fear. Fear that his world would reach her again. He ordered her removed from all internal systems. No tracking. No protection. No shadow. If she was to return, it would be because she chose to. That restraint cost him more than blood ever had. Meanwhile, she tried to rebuild her life. New apartment. New routine. New distance. But the fear followed. Not of him. Of what she felt. She dreamed of his silence. Of his restraint. Of the way he stepped back when she asked. She hated that memory. Because it softened her resolve. One evening, she received a message. No sender. No demand. Just a warning. Stay away from the city tonight. She knew instantly who it came from. He was still protecting her. Even in absence. That broke something open inside her. She returned to the office building days later. Not to work, but to confront the truth she was avoiding. He was there. Alone. Waiting. Not for forgiveness. For consequence. I did not follow you, he said. I did not search. I did not interfere. I know, she replied. Her voice was steady. Her heart was not. Why did you stop? Because obsession that does not respect choice becomes violence. The words stunned her. I erased you from my world so you could keep yours. She stepped closer. And what if I do not want distance? His breath caught. But he did not move. Then you return with power. Not fear. She looked at him fully then. Not as a boss. Not as a threat. But as a man holding himself back. I am afraid, she said. Of your world. Of what you are capable of. So am I, he replied. That honesty was the most dangerous thing he had ever given her. Because obsession had laid itself bare. Not as hunger, but as devotion struggling to transform. And for the first time, she realized the final choice was now hers. She did not return because she was weak. She returned because running no longer felt like freedom. The city looked the same. Loud. Restless. Unforgiving. Yet everything inside her had changed. She stood across the street from the building for a long time, watching people move in and out, breathing slowly, steadying herself. When she finally crossed the threshold, she felt no fear. Only resolve. He was not expecting her. That was clear the moment he looked up. Surprise flickered across his face, followed by something deeper. Something restrained. You should not be here, he said. I know, she replied. But I chose to come. The word chose hung between them. She did not sit. Did not soften her posture. I am not here to forgive you. And I am not here to disappear. He listened. Silent. Still. You frighten me, she continued. Not with violence, but with how easily you could have taken control. He nodded once. I know. She stepped closer. But you did not. You stepped back. You let me go. That matters. His jaw tightened. It was the hardest thing I have ever done. She believed him. I cannot belong to your world, she said. Not the way it is. Then it must change, he answered. Not demanded. Not promised. Stated. I will not live watched. I will not be protected like property. I will not lose myself to your shadows. You will not, he said. Not if you stay. She studied him. The man feared by cities. Standing unarmed before her truth. What happens when your world comes for me again, she asked. Then I will face it without you paying the price. Silence stretched. I do not want obsession, she said. I want choice. Every day. His voice was low. Then choose me knowing what I am. And I will spend my life proving restraint is stronger than power. Her breath caught. This was the moment. Not dramatic. Not loud. Irreversible. She placed her hand against his chest, feeling the steady beat beneath. If I stay, You do not watch me. You do not follow me. You do not decide for me. Agreed. If I walk away again, you let me go. Always. Her eyes burned. Then I stay. Not because she was claimed. Not because she was protected. But because she was choosing. He did not touch her. Did not pull her closer. He simply bowed his head slightly. A gesture no one in his world had ever seen. Obsession had not won. It had transformed into something more dangerous. Devotion chosen freely. The future did not arrive loudly. It arrived quietly. One decision at a time. She did not move back into her old role. She did not return to being unseen. She stayed, but on her terms. Her desk was moved. Not closer to his, but beside the windows, where light entered freely. Men noticed. They whispered. They learned quickly. She was not a weakness. She was a boundary. Julian Hawthorne changed without announcing it. Without speeches. Without spectacle. Orders softened. Violence became rare. Silence replaced fear. Those who tested limits were removed. Not erased. Released. No blood. No warning. Only absence. His empire did not fall. It refined itself. She watched carefully. Not trusting easily, but observing truth in action. He never followed her. Never checked her location. Never asked where she went. When she left, he waited. When she returned, he was still. That was his vow. One evening months later, they stood together on a quiet rooftop. The city stretched endlessly below. "You are quieter now," she said. He smiled faintly. Power does not need noise. She turned to him. "Do you regret it? Changing?" He shook his head. "I regret who I was before you." The words were not dramatic. They were final. She took his hand. For the first time without fear. "I stayed because you learned to kneel without being weak." He closed his fingers around hers. "And I rose because you never bent." He did not propose with diamonds or guards or spectacle. There was no audience. Only a simple question asked under an open sky. "Will you walk with me?" Not behind. Not ahead. Beside. She answered without hesitation. Yes. Their union was not celebrated in public. It was sealed in private. A promise not written, but lived. When enemies tested the chain, they found no opening. Because devotion was stronger than obsession, and restraint stronger than force. Years later, people would speak of the shift, of how the Hawthorne Syndicate became untouchable. Not through terror, but through order. They would whisper her name, not as his possession, but as the woman who changed a monster by refusing to be claimed. And at night when the city slept, they would stand together, watching lights fade. Two people who chose each other. Every day. Not because of obsession, but because love waited.